So the presence of that machine at the beginning of this trail is sort of poignant. As although this is an old forest with trees as old as 186 years or older, whether this is an old growth forest officially depends on your definition of what an old growth forest is. And that machine suggests that there's evidence that this forest is not undisturbed. These trees, structurally, we see one major age class of overstory trees in that 76 to 86 year old age class, and at least one or two age classes coming in. But this, technically, if we go by structural definitions, it's not in steady state. It's not an balanced all age stand. Structurally, I'm not sure if this would be considered an old growth stand, or perhaps just on the cusp of becoming an old growth stand and recruiting a third major age class. Okay, so if our definition is based on disturbance history, that machine suggests that this stand has a history of disturbance, human disturbance. And would not then be considered old growth. A structural definition, structure-based definition, also suggests not quite old growth yet, but perhaps on the cusp of becoming old growth. The third type of definition would be an age-based definition, and perhaps based on ages. 186 years, that's an old tree, right? That's special. That warrants some special status and consideration as an old forest. So old growth is in the eye of the beholder and the type of definition. Now I want to talk a little bit more about other evidence that this stand has a history of disturbance. So in addition to this machine here, what do we note? Maybe about the structure of the forest floor. What's missing? Well, we would expect in an old growth forest to see a lot of pit and mound topography developing as a result of historical disturbances that uproot trees and bury large tree boles and create pits in association with that. And we don't see that. There is some thinking that this may have historically been managed as a sugar bush, in addition to perhaps having an agricultural history. The main species here are sugar maple and American beech, and that's consistent with a history as a sugar bush, because beech would be allowed to persist in the stand and would be used historically as fuel to boil down the sap. So you have the sugar maple beech stand, but there's no hemlock. You know, there's a notable absence of some species like hemlock and cherry, yellow birch, and other tree species that you would expect to be in a forest like this, particularly if it hadn't ever been logged.